Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Valkyria Vorder. It's Valkyrie of the Veil. I'm an astrologer and high priestess here to teach you today we're talking about the 8th house in astrology and protection magic, which is a really wild thing. This is going to be a part of a course, so as I'm posting this, there's not other videos out, but probably if you're seeing this past the post date, there will be other videos in the course. So if you want to check those out, more protection magic, feel free to. If you would like to subscribe to the channel, thank you. I would love to receive you. For any other updates, you can check out my website, astrologyandmagic.com. I'll put a link down in the description. I also have my podcast here on YouTube, keeping you up to date with the current transits and what's going on and what to expect. As I'm filming this, we are entering into eclipse season. We're kind of already in it. So if you want to go check out that most recent episode of our eclipses for 2024, I cannot believe we're already here. Wild. So that's the pre-video update. Let's talk about protection magic and astrology in the 8th house. So the reason that we need to talk about protection magic with the 8th house is because the 8th house, modernly, it's ruled by Scorpio. Hello, Scorpios. Love ya. I myself have lots of Scorpio placements as well, so I love Scorpio energy. There are some people who do not really like Scorpio energy, though, so it is. The reason that there's the need for protection through the 8th house is because of Pluto and Pluto's influence through this house structure. So let's talk a little bit more about what the 8th house is, and then let's talk a little bit about Pluto's influence. So the 8th house, the way that we generally talk about it in our astrological conversations that we're having on the internet and, you know, in the spiritual spaces, is that it's about inheritances, bigger investments, it's about OPM, other people's money, it's about receiving large quantities of other people's resources that they have generated for themselves. There's a lot of different ways that can come through. Inheritances from family, inheritances from in-laws. If you are someone who's starting a business, having investments come through there. Also, too, this is a house where intimate partners, people who you are intimate with, the 7th house technically is more of our intimate mirror space. However, if we are sharing resources in the physical sense, emotional sharing of resources, mental sharing of resources. So not just in the relationship of reflection, when you start to exchange with the intimate partner, not just have them be reflected, not just the reflection, but when there's an exchange, then the 8th house is also activated. So there are some people, if you have 8th house placements, who could have been betrayed through these placements through intimate exchanges. So that's part of the reason that we need to really talk about the protection magic part of this, because when you're sharing intimacy with other people, whether that be emotional intimacy, mental intimacy, or otherwise, spiritual intimacy as well, we don't always know the intentions of other people. We just don't. We can't know the full intentions of a person, because how can you know another person really fully, truly to their depth? We're so deep as human beings. So in the 8th house, while we are looking at the placements in the 8th house, if you're looking at the placements here, these are the skills or the things that you could acquire for yourself that other people could see about you and want to receive from you. When it comes to the Pluto aspect of this, Pluto really asks that we stand in our power. So a really great indicator of what this house is ruled by, the zodiac sign that the house is ruled by, and then also any placements that are in this house. If you are standing in your power and you're noticing, you're aware of it, that you're standing in your power, you're not giving your power to other people, you're not giving your power to other investors, you're not giving your power to other organizations, you really are doing what you want to do, how you want to do it, and you're not allowing your power to be wielded by other people or give it to other people, more than likely, you're going to do great and you're stepping in the protection of these placements and of the sign that rules this house. Good for you. If you're wondering how to understand if you're walking in your power, talking in your power while you're in these 8th house placements, if you're noticing that other people are influencing you, other organizations are influencing you to do certain specific, it's very applicable on an individual level, but to do certain specific things, actions that are related to that zodiac sign that rules your 8th house, and depending upon the house structure and system that you use, that will probably be different. And then also the placements that are in this house. If you're noticing that other people are influencing you to wield your power differently than maybe you would naturally want to, or your natural power is asking you to do so, that's probably a good indication that you need boundaries around this person, and also to sit and understand the tools that that person may be using to manipulate you so that you may no longer be manipulated by them. One of the other things about this house when it comes to protecting oneself is that it is about, when it comes to the Pluto influence, Pluto is the death and rebirth process. It's not just the death part. Death is also in Pluto, there's a rebirth to it. So it's not just the death, it's also what happens afterwards. So when you're in the exchanging process, whether it's resources, mentalities, ideas, different pieces and parts of wisdom, when you're exchanging those things with other people, organizations, investors, when there's the exchange, sometimes it might feel strange because, exchange is change and change feels kind of strange, but, back on track. When we have the exchange, Pluto asks us to consider what happens after the exchange. The exchange is the death. You're both leaving behind something and giving it to the other person. So there's the death, but then when you receive that from the other person, they receive what it is from you, then there's this rebirth aspect. So Pluto asks that you consider what happens after the change, and is that also allowing you to step into your power? Or is it allowing you to give your power away to another person? What does that look like? Why is it working in that regard? And so it really requires a lot of study based on your specific placements to sit and understand how are you wielding your power through those placements, and if anyone else around you is wielding their power through you. And that can look a lot of different ways. Normally it's very indirect. So when you're having manipulations that happen in this house, they normally are things that are happening in the shadows. They're usually more indirect. It takes time to further inspect. Pluto also is a very long, drawn out, slow moving, in the dark, far away from the sun transit. And so allowing yourself to really sit and be in the darkness, to really sit and allow the strength and the length of the understanding and the wisdom to come through while you're studying these placements for yourself is really important, because Pluto asks that we go to the depth of it. And if you are allowing yourself to really go into the intensity and the depth and the darkness, and sometimes the pressure, because Scorpio, the water of Scorpio is the water at the bottom of the ocean. So it's like to go to the bottom of the well and pull out the wisdom. If you're able to sit in that time and sit in that energy, you're allowing yourself to pull that wisdom out. Normally, the wisdom that you retrieve from studying different situations that are related to the placements and the house ruler of your 8th house will allow you the perspectives that you need to understand how you're walking in your power and choose not to cower. Gorgeous and beautiful, yes. With Pluto also, there is the aspect of when it comes to the exchange part and there's the rebirth, part of it is equal exchange. Allowing yourself to understand what type of power is being given to you by the other person and what type of power are you giving away to the other person, and is it an equal exchange? That's something that can really only be determined by you in your life, and what that looks like for you, and what is a proper worthy exchange of those powers, and allowing yourself to learn and study about different exchanges that you've had through those placements and that house ruler of the eighth house can show you really if you have allowed other people to give you part of their power, part of their resources, wisdom that maybe wasn't worth what you gave to them. That's one of the ways that we are able to give our power away through the 8th house placements. So if you find yourself, I know for me studying these placements, I'm a giver. I love to give. I love to love. I love to give to people. And it took me a very long time to sit and to study these placements and to understand, after having given from my placements of the 8th house, that I wasn't receiving an equal exchange of what I thought I was really worth in those placements. And then when you realize that, there is the rebirth aspect of it, because it's Pluto, the Mars aspect of Scorpio in this house is also victory. So let's talk a little bit about Mars in the 8th house with Scorpio and the victories aspect of this. Victories, it's war, battle, strategy oriented. Mars in Scorpio is very different than Mars in Aries. Mars rules both Scorpio and Aries. Mars in Aries is very like the first idea, the first instinct, the first go. It's very swift most of the time. It's also very headstrong. When it comes to Scorpio with Mars, it's very long and drawn out. Scorpios play the long game with their victories. It's the long game. So sometimes when it comes to sacrifices in Scorpionic energy, when you have those Mars victories, it is long drawn out. It's like you might be making a sacrifice here because you know there's going to be a victory here, but also in that you realize that the sacrifice being made here is a victory for further on down the road. So again, that has to do with what comes after. So there's something that happens and what comes after that. So it is very, it's like playing a game of chess. If you're able to really like sit and understand a lot of the different strategies that can happen, a lot of the different moves that can happen, and what that looks like in the long term of things, that's also very important. The other aspect of Mars and Scorpio when it comes to victories is that victories in the battle war tactic essence of this, and not just that, but say that a victory could be anything. Maybe you wake up and you decide today is going to be a joyful day. That's a victory. And you allow yourself to have that joyful day. That's a victory. That is victory in itself. You may not understand exactly how you're moving through the strategy. It might be go with the flow. Scorpio is a water energy, so going with the flow of things. But having victory, if you have the placements and the sign ruler of that house, allowing yourself to be very victorious in those energies and being very victorious in the placements that are there, having victory, claiming your victories with those skills, the placements of that house that are in that house, and then also in the energy, the house ruler, the zodiac sign ruler of that house, allowing yourself to claim victories through that type of energy. That's also going to be really important. And then also noticing too, if you're giving other people victories in your life through those energies in the 8th house. So say that you decide with your placements in the 8th house that you are going to wake up and have a joyful day, and then you decide in a part of the day that there's something happens and it kind of like sets you out of that joyful moment for a moment, however long that moment lasts. And you realize that you have then, someone else has come in and had a victory. Someone made you mad, or someone made you sad, or there was something that happened where you stepped out of that joy. More than likely what they were wielding against you was the energy of your placements in that 8th house. So noticing the tools of other people's victories in your life through those 8th house placements and the sign ruler of the 8th house for you is going to be, it's an active practice. It does take study. Tools of manipulation and possible betrayal are also not super fun to sit with, but understanding them in the long run, we're talking about long-term strategy, in the long run, it can be very, very, very protective. And so once you do kind of study these for yourself in your life and what they look like, how to be aware of them, and not just be aware of them, but also how to take care of them. Because with Pluto and the power in this house, these placements become very, very powerful. They're very powerful skills. They're very powerful skills in our human world, not just in the spirit, not just in our mind, but applicable to how we're connecting with other people, how we're receiving from other people, how we're giving to other people. It's a very, very powerful tool. Exchange is a very powerful thing to happen. And so studying these for yourself, you're able to realize the power that you have in community spaces, and sometimes other people don't have the best intentions for us. And so understanding that power, as you understand that power for you, you're able to walk in it and not allow other people to wield you, shield you, manipulate you, betray you, steal from you. Because that's another part of the 8th house placements, is that more than likely, if people are coming through to be thievery and schemy, they're looking at your 8th house placements to see where your power is, to know what they are going to take from you if they were to do so. And so understanding your power also helps you understand what needs to be protected about your power. Another thing about Pluto is that when there is the death and rebirth process of transformation, when you're undergoing those death and rebirth processes, the process of that, if you're allowing yourself to realize what's valuable and powerful that you're bringing with you through the death and rebirth transformation process, and you're able to hold on to that value and that power, there's usually other things that shed away around that while you're holding on to that power. And then also, as you are, say that you're holding on to that, you're walking through life, you're going through things, then you realize, oh, there's another rebirth, a death and rebirth transformation that's happening, then you're still holding on to that power from the previous rebirth, death, and transformation. And simultaneously, in this next rebirth, death, transformation, there's another valuable thing that you realize about you and your power and where you want to be in your life and how you're wielding your power for you. So now you have two powerful riches to hold on to. That's how Pluto creates riches, is through the death and rebirth process. And that's also why Pluto has to do with our generational wealth. A lot of people look to Capricorn for wealth, and we will look at Capricorn placements and energy of protection further on in the Protection Magick series. But when it comes to transferring that wealth through generations, whether it be the wealth of wisdom, the wealth of emotions, the spiritual wealth, physical wealth, the wealth that we're able to pass on through generations, that process is actually done through Pluto. And that's part of the reason why inheritances and the indication of inheritances are found in the 8th house, is because that is where we do inherit from who has come before us and what they're leaving behind for us to receive. And so if you're looking too at your familial generational cycles of what's been passed down to you specifically, the power that has been given to you can be found symbolically and in the placements of your skills, the planetary placements and other placements in the 8th house. It can be found there. That power that has been passed to you can be found there in that 8th house. The energy of the 8th house, so the ruler of the 8th house, that is going to be more of the energy that you'd want to be in. Also the element that rules the 8th house for you. There's a lot of power within receiving that generationally. And also too, if you're able to tap into, activate somehow these skills, the placements in the 8th house and the house ruler of the 8th house, if you're able to activate those energies. So not just sit and receive them, not just allow yourself to be aware of them. Being aware of them is the practice of the study and that awareness. And when you do the studying, then you start to realize the tools and your power and your value, and that's a really gorgeous, beautiful thing. I know for me personally, studying this house, there's a lot of clearing out that I did through the death and the rebirth process, and allowing things that did not sit with my power to really be removed from me, so that I did not have to sit in the things that were taking my power anymore. So expect there to be, if you want to do this work, expect there to be some clearing out, and expect there to be death and rebirth transformation processes that allow you to tap into and receive and stand in more of your power. And simultaneously, when you are kind of like through the studying process, or you're growing and you've realized that you're ready to activate those placements, because there is kind of a consistent study that comes with astrology. So if you're realizing that you're ready to activate those placements, and you're realizing how you're activating them already in your life, then you can start to be active and participate in the power of those placements and the power of that energy and the power of that element. And also, when you're looking at the elements in the chart, it's not just about the element. If you're looking at your the different zodiacs, how they are sitting with the element, it moves the element differently. So paying attention to how the element moves is also just as important as what the element of the ruler of that house is. So that is 8th house protections, understanding those placements, seeing how they work in your life, seeing how other people may have come after you for those powers and for those inheritances, because the placements in the 8th house, if you are able to sit and receive those things, then more than likely other people are going to be looking to those things to receive them from you in the exchange process. However, everyone has an 8th house. So that means that they're at 8th house, other people, organization, circumstance, place, person where you are having this exchange happen, their 8th house is going to be different than yours, which means they have different skills. They have different power. There's a different energy to their power. And that is what the exchange that they are giving to you for you to receive is. So if there's anyone who's receiving the power from you in your placements, they're giving it in their 8th house, they would give it to you, and also in your 8th house, that's the energy and the placements and the skills that you would be activating to receive that inheritance. So it goes both ways when you're activating those 8th houses between two people, organizations, or there's a lot of different ways that can be applicable within generalizations. The other thing to look at too, if you're able to look at another person's chart, if you're not, then don't worry about it. But if you are able to look at another person's chart, say that your 8th house is ruled by Libra, you would want to look at where Libra is in their chart. What house is it in their chart? Because your 8th house will activate their Libra house. If you have any placements in the 8th house, look to see where those placements are in this other person's house, or in their other chart too, because doing that will also, those 8th house, if they're coming in to steal from you or keep you unprotected somehow and not well directed, then those placements are going to be active in their chart, and understanding where they are in their chart and how they're integrating those skills, placements, and energies in their life can help to indicate. That is that's far more detailed when it comes to the study. But generally, if you're centering it around yourself, then allowing the previous annotations that we've gone through together, studying those things and being active in them, and walk in your power. That is really what the 8th house calls, is for you to sit in your power, to talk in your power, to walk in your power. Don't give your power to other people, and be powerful enough to continue to accumulate power. Stand in your power so that you're able to continue to receive power through the death and rebirth process and transformation. That's one thing that Pluto asks of us, is that we do not stop the death and rebirth transformation, and that we allow ourselves to continue the process of receiving the value and the riches and the power through going through our transformations. And so if there's any blockages that you have around that, really allow yourself the time to sit in that space. If you are asking yourself to work in more power, to walk in more power, to talk in more power, it is worth the work. It's work. 8th house and Scorpio placements, they are work. It's true. And also they are worth the work. And you are worth it too. It's true. So allow yourself to do what you need to do. May everything that has been spoken be received in love, truth, elevation, the highest benevolence, and the order of love, truth, elevation, the highest benevolence. And I give my gratitude, my love, and my reverence to the highest spirit, the great mother spirit, the great father spirit, the spirits of love, truth, elevation, the highest benevolence, and the order of love, truth, elevation, and the highest benevolence, the mothers of love, truth, elevation, and the highest benevolence, and the order of love, truth, elevation, and the highest benevolence, the fathers of love, truth, elevation, and the highest benevolence, and the order of love, truth, elevation, and the highest benevolence, the ancestral spirits who sit here with us who are of love, truth, elevation, the highest benevolence, and the order of love, truth, elevation, and the highest benevolence. And I give my gratitude, love, and reverence to you. And I give my gratitude, love, and reverence to the indigenous spirits of this land where I sit, talk, walk, and stand, and where you receive this information and you sit, talk, walk, and stand also as well. And I send my love again through to you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for receiving my words and my wisdom. If you would like to receive updates, there is space to do that on my website. There's also more information about my other offerings, sessions, courses, podcast. What else is up there? I have my book of spells on my website as well. If you would like to check out my poetry, beautiful, gorgeous, I love it. Thank you for that. And that is it for now. I'll see you next time.